This is Karen Anderson, Director of Supporting Success for Children with Hearing Loss, and I'm very pleased that you're joining us to learn more about Interact Streamer, which is an automated speech-to-text captioning app that has really taken education by storm recently. I have a few slides to go over to talk about Interact, and there we go. I'm just going to set the stage a little bit here. We know that most of our students with hearing loss at this point are fully included in the general ed setting. They are in the classroom in their neighborhood school. And unfortunately, even as good as hearing devices are now, they do not restore normal hearing. And that means that students who are hard of hearing have to expend more energy to listen and really catch what is being said by the teachers. And that leaves fewer cognitive resources for them to really understand what was said, and fewer yet for them to remember. And we know that as students progress through the grades, especially once they get to third, fourth, fifth grade, the expectations is that they're going to be able to just pick up new vocabulary through incidental language learning. And the expectations for them to pick up vocabulary during discussion and through reading, all of that, it's just much faster. So for students who are really listening and involved in the classroom setting, if they have a hearing loss, it's very hard for them to keep up because of this, what we could call a listening gap. And so it's not hard to understand that if you're not hearing everything that's being said, that over time, we will eventually start to see an academic gap, that the children just can't keep pace at the same speed as their class peers. And I like to use this example of a very common children's story. And I'm going to put up some text that represents what it's like to listen with about a 25 decibel hearing loss. And this amount of hearing loss isn't unusual for a child with hearing aids when they're using them. In other words, for an aided hearing aid sound detection, 25 decibels is pretty common. So here's the start of our story. I'm going to say the story as we go along. What you'll see here is that endings are missing, the shorter, unemphasized words are missing. Sometimes one word is combined into another word. So this is the actual story. Once upon a time, a city mouse went to visit a country mouse. The country mouse lived in a field. He was glad to see his city friend. The two mice ran about the field and played until noon. So again, this representation is for a hearing loss that is very typical of a student who is wearing hearing aids, a hard of hearing student wearing hearing aids. And of course, if you have more severe to profound hearing loss and you're wearing hearing aids, you would have more missing speech sounds. A child with a cochlear implant also does not have normal hearing ability restored. So they might hear a little bit better than what this story represents, but not necessarily. So Interact Streamer is a classroom accommodation. We know that the Americans with Disabilities Act, as of 2014, made it very clear. They specified in a policy that schools must ensure that the communication of students with hearing loss is as effective as it is for peers, thereby affording them an equal opportunity to reach the same level of achievement as that provided to others. So when we recognize that even our top-of-the-line best hearing devices don't restore normal hearing, and that our students who are hard of hearing will always be missing parts of information, then we recognize that this listening gap is really a concern, especially when ADA is requiring that schools ensure that the communication of these students is equal to that of their hearing peers. And the ADA further specifies that if there is a gap, that effective communication is to be provided through auxiliary aids and services. So sign language interpreters, when we have FM or DM hearing assistance technology devices, and captioning, these are all included on the federal information as auxiliary aids to level the playing field, right? These aren't the only auxiliary aids. These are examples. And the point is that if we recognize there's some kind of a communication gap, we need to fulfill it. And the ADA is saying we're going to do that looking at technology or some sort of an accommodation or a supportive service to make sure that these students are able to access all of that curricular information just like their hearing peers are, right? Otherwise, it's unfair. If we put a kid in a classroom and he can't access all of the curriculum the same as their peers, and the expectations are the same, and he's still expected to keep pace the same way, well, this is what the ADA is all about. It is an anti-discrimination law. So when we think about different ways to accommodate these students, Interact Streamer is a possibility for some of our students. And it can be a primary accommodation, and by that I mean if a student has such limited hearing that they really can't process well through that channel, it would be an option for them to look at a caption transcript during their time in the classroom. That would make it a primary accommodation. And we sometimes see this with remote CART or CART providers. More often, much more often, Interact Streamer is used as a secondary accommodation, meaning it's really preferred more by those students who are hard of hearing, who are listening in the classroom, they're speech reading their teacher or the other speaker's faces, they're probably using some kind of amplification devices, but they miss parts of speech now and again. And so Interact Streamer is used as to provide captioning on that student's desk on a media device where they would be paying attention to that speaker in the classroom. If they miss something, they can then glance down, look at the captioning just like you are below the slide presentation here, go, oh, that's what she said, and then pop their eyes right back up. So it's often used as a secondary accommodation to try and close this gap between partial hearing or fragmented hearing and the full amount that the teacher is saying in the classroom. Also be used very, very useful as we look at the transition needs of our student. And as most anyone on the call recognizes, in the US, transition services are required for students who are receiving specialized services under IEPs, and it starts no later than 14. It often starts closer to sixth grade, but by age 14, there needs to be some sort of transition goals in place. And unfortunately, the research we have on the US nationally is that only about half of the people who are deaf or hard of hearing as adults are employed or they are underemployed. And we know very well that the more training and education they get, the better the chance that they're going to be employed or fully employed. So ensuring that students with hearing loss have a strong transition plan, including knowing what kind of accommodations they require for them to really function optimally, if not appropriately, in the classroom. And that transition plan should also allow them to try different accommodations so that once they get to a higher ed setting or once they are looking for a job and may need to know what kind of accommodations they require to do their job, that they would have had some exposure to different accommodations. They also, of course, need to know how to request accommodations, appropriate accommodations. So by doing a trial with the Interact Streamer app, it really can further the student's transition goals, along with just giving him, exposing him to this particular accommodation and letting him experience hopefully success in seeing that there are captions, how he can use these captions, when it's going to be most beneficial for him to use these captions, what classes, what kind of situations, etc. So today's webinar is for you to learn about Interact Streamer, and we would want to answer your questions today so that at the end of our hour you'll feel comfortable seeing and understanding how Streamer works, and you'll have an idea whether it could be suitable for your student. And then finally, we'll certainly tell you about how you can get into doing a trial period with Interact Streamer. We're very, very strong about wanting you to do a trial period with the technology and not just buy it outright. Every student is different, and we really need to allow that student a chance to try it in their particular setting and see if it works for them. So it's not like we're saying, hey, this is great and it's going to work for everybody. Whew, no accommodation works for every student. So I am very pleased that Supporting Success for Children with Hearing Loss is partnering with Auditory Sciences, and especially with Rob Palmquist, who is my co-presenter for this webinar. So Rob does a wonderful job of talking about the roots of Streamer, where it came from, how far it's come, and especially how to use it and where to go step by step to give it a try. So we will make sure all of your questions are answered, if not throughout the presentation or at the end of the presentation, certainly by email after the presentation. So Rob, take it away.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me make this screen a little bit bigger for you, or the font size a little bit bigger. I think that's kind of hard to see. So the first thing I'm going to demonstrate, I guess, in Streamer is how to change the font size. And all you do is go to the Chrome settings, and I can make that bigger. And I think that's a little nicer for you. So now you'll be able to see that captioning a little bit easier. But again, the point there that it is very easy to change the font size if you do want to see it larger. I do like to start off every presentation giving some credit to the U.S. Marine Corps, because these are the folks that really funded this to make it happen. So we initially started working with the Marine Corps on developing language translation systems. And so if that's a situation in your school where perhaps you have a parent that would prefer to speak Vietnamese or Russian or Arabic or Spanish, we'll show you some features for that. But for now, let's focus more on the captioning side. Because as a result of our success in working with the Marine Corps in language translation, they came back to us and asked us to assist them in helping wounded warriors. And so what happens for Marines in theater, so they're in the battlefield situations, they are provided with hearing protection. But the reality is if they're wearing that hearing protection, they lose what they call situational awareness. They cannot hear the footsteps approaching from behind them. So it's very common, unfortunately, for that hearing protection to not be used, and a 10-second blast from a machine gun right next to their ear results in a lifetime of permanent hearing loss. So we were very honored that they came to ask us to assist with them, and so that's what we did. And as a result of our working with the Marine Corps from day zero, our software is completely secure. And so I'm starting to see a little more on bulletin boards and such for the requirements for ensuring students' data privacy. And so if that's something that's creeped into your school settings, you can be assured that we do meet those data requirements. We meet the data requirements for the U.S. military, Department of Justice, all across the board. And so again, that's designed into our software from day zero. It's certainly not an afterthought. Lots of various groups, agencies have reviewed our products. This is really an eye chart, I get that. You know, lots of different awards here, and we're very fortunate to have had these people take a look at our systems to evaluate them. This particular one is the Retailers Association, which would be like Target and Walmart's and all the Best Buy. All the stores have a various committee that goes out and evaluates products, and they came back and said ours was the best. We're certainly honored by that. Also, we received the Best Education Technology Product Award. So another kind of big thing for us. A huge part of our success in getting these awards and making these products actually work is you. And so we definitely value your input and your ideas and suggestions. So going into this school year, we took a lot of the suggestions from the previous year and we implemented them. So the first one is to make a version of Interact that runs on iPads and Chromebooks. And so we did that. This particular flavor called Interact Streamer is going to run on basically any device. iPhones, Android phones, Amazon Fires, Kindles, any sort of device that can run a Chrome browser is going to be happy running this software. Installs and updates in the past were kind of difficult to do. And a big reason for that is typically teachers are not given the keys to their computer. You have to go to somebody else who has the passwords to get in there and do the installs, and any update takes time and coordination, all the above. And so with Streamer, there are no installs. You just go to the website, and I'll show you that in a minute. The updates are automatically there for you when you go to the website. So again, we just totally got rid of the whole concept of having to do installs or updates, so you can do this on your own without having to coordinate with your various departments in order to do that. New microphone options, in particular a lapel microphone option, so we've added that. Certainly a strong request. Additional languages, and we're continuing to add them. If you need a language that is not on our list, let us know. We now have the tools to rapidly create new languages. Compatibility with existing FM systems. So this is something that we started kind of the end of 2018, but I listed this as January 2019. So we do now work with existing FM systems. So if your student already has an FM system, we're going to encourage you to try using that versus buying a microphone system through us. So again, that was kind of a January large effort. In February, we're doing quite a few things, including a brand new installation process or usage for iPhones and iPads. But in addition to this, we're going to, in about 2 weeks time frame, have the ability for students to do one-click note insertion into the transcripts. So if the student is listening to the lecture and there comes a part where this is important, study this for the test, they can just do a single click and that category gets automatically entered into their transcript. And so as they're listening to the transcript, now they're able to do this and to automatically classify portions of those transcripts to identify which ones are more important to them and which ones, well, frankly, aren't. So again, the ability to insert notes to automatically categorize transcripts is something that's coming very quickly, in about 2 weeks. In March, we're going to add an auto summarizer. So this was a nice suggestion that we received. So if the student has a 1 hour worth of transcript, we are going to have the software automatically generate a single paragraph that summarizes what that hour of transcript is. They can just read that top paragraph and be able to see what the entire contents are. That's coming in March, so a little, I guess, peek ahead in terms of the features that are coming. And again, all you need to do is go to the website. Let's talk about that. I'm going to pull up Streamer here. And again, what you're looking at is live captioning. There is no person in the background typing away here doing something like that. This is all done by the software. So there's no concept here of having to schedule an appointment in advance or any per minute fees or per session fees or anything like that. You can use this software absolutely anytime, anywhere that you do have some sort of connection to the internet. Now that could be Wi-Fi, it could be a cellular data plan on your smartphone, it could be hardwired. Any sort of connection to the internet is going to give you the ability to use this system on basically pretty much any device. And as you can see, it's captioning what I'm doing in real time. And if you're looking really closely, you can kind of see how it's automatically correcting some of the words as they get put up there. What it's doing is it's looking at the context of the previous words and context of newly added words and going back and generating that accurate transcript. After it's done that, then it automatically adds the punctuation to the transcript. So when the student downloads this, it's going to be a complete punctualized system that they're going to be able to use as notes to study their system. So several features going on here. One, you can see that we're automatically captioning everything. If you noticed earlier on the left column here is the name of the person who is speaking. So if we were in a team teaching type of situation and that other person jumps in and starts talking, the student is going to know who is saying what. So we identify the appropriate person.
Like me. Hi, Rob. I'm just jumping in.
There we go. Yes, for example. Thank you, Karen. And so again, you can have multiple participants. So literally, if you had a classroom discussion going on with, let's say, 7 students sitting in a semicircle, as they're talking, each of those students could have an account, and that person who is relying on this transcript in order to know what's going on would be able to identify who is saying what at any given moment. That's pretty neat kind of stuff. I'm going to go into the far upper right corner here, and I'm going to show you how to download a transcript. And so all I'm doing is clicking on the room settings, and I'm going to click download. And when I do that, I can save it in a variety of different formats, so text, document. If I'm going to save it as a Google Doc, I would choose RTF. DocX is Microsoft Word. I'm not going to do that right now, but it is very simple to download that transcript and be able to save it for future reference. Okay, let's jump back to the slides here real quick, because I do want to step through some of these features with a little more detail. See if I shrink this down a little bit. Should be able to come back here, and there we go. So you still see the captioning down at the bottom. So again, to review, with this software, there is no installation to do at all. All you do is go to the website, and that's it. You click on the microphone to start captioning the speech, and as you do that, you have real-time contextual-based captioning. This is not word-for-word captioning. This is not static captioning like you would see with Microsoft Translate. The reason Microsoft Translate has such poor accuracy is that they're not using dynamic updates of the contextual based. So you have lots of issues with that. Complete automated punctuation, not just one long string of words like you'll see in some other systems. We automatically identify the person that is speaking, and with that we can support multiple speakers. One thing I did show you is the ability to leave private messages for students. So an example of that would be, let's say that you have 8 students in your classroom that are viewing the captioning, and one of those students is not paying attention. They're kind of drifting off. You have the ability to send them a private message and say, hey, is everything okay? Or the student could send a private message to you saying, I didn't understand that, or my wireless FM system isn't working. So again, the ability to send private messages that nobody else is going to see in that transcript is really beneficial. We can send documents and attachments to students. You just drag and drop those into the field. That's all it takes. And so now that student is going to have that assignment or whatever it might be on their desktop, on their device, whatever they're using. This sounds kind of like a crazy one, personalize your account. But it actually is kind of meaningful to students. And so just things like this, I can scroll over. Karen has added her picture here, streamer admin account. Mike Messina is on board here. And so there's various things you can do to personalize your account, which ends up being kind of a bigger deal than I first thought. Students accept it more when it's personalized to them versus one size fits all. Built-in user guide in the software. I'll show you that real quick, but I'm not going to go over it in any kind of detail at all. There we go. But it is pretty simple, straightforward kind of stuff. And so here is the various commands that you could use. Close out of that and get back to captioning. All right. We've already talked about downloading transcripts, and we also have the ability for continuous voice synthesis. So if you have a student who is nonverbal and they're going to use this system to speak, they will certainly do that. As they enter a message by typing it or using the forthcoming phrase builder features with that single click, everything that they enter will be spoken aloud in an appropriate voice for others to hear. What's going on there? Let's talk a little bit about what you get with a streamer subscription. Then we're going to talk about how you can do a trial, and then we're going to show you how you can do it for free, how you can try it right away. So 3 things that we're going to do here. With your subscription, what you get is a private secure room and an admin user account. So you can have as many student accounts as you want. There's no limits on that whatsoever. But what you get with the subscription is that private, secure, locked room and that admin user account that you're going to use to create these other student accounts. So again, a lot of these subscription-based packages, you pay per account, and we didn't do that. We wanted to make it easier for you. And so we give you an unlimited number of user accounts that anybody that you want, you can invite in to use your private and secure room. You alone have the key to your room, and you alone decide who can enter it and what they can do in that room. So if you want to give the student the ability to download the transcript, you can do that. If you want to prevent them from doing that, you have that ability as well. You can decide whether they can just enter the room to view the captioning, like you are right now, or do we also want to give them the ability to contribute to the captioning, to be able to caption their speech or to enter questions. Again, complete control that you have over the system, who can save it, who can see it, what they can do with it. Again, all getting back to our design with the Marine Corps of having a very secure system. So each streamer room that you get with your subscription can be used for captioning or translating one simultaneous conversation. Again, accessed by as many students and teachers as you want. You can have multiple people participating. But if you want to caption simultaneous classrooms, so 2 classrooms that are occurring at the same instant, then you will need a separate streamer room for each of those physical rooms. Hope that makes sense. I think it becomes pretty easy to follow once you start using the system. Let's talk about the implementation. What you're going to have is a teacher with a wireless microphone. And odds are that's going to be your existing wireless FM system. If you do not have one, I'm going to show you some microphones that we offer to you as an option. That student then is going to have some sort of device that connects to the internet. Most popular right now is Chromebooks, but if you use iPads, use iPads, laptops, whatever it might be. All we want is a device that can connect to the internet and that can run a Chrome browser. Ideally, you're going to have a USB port or a Lightning port in order to connect an external microphone. Pretty much every device out there has the ability to connect an external microphone. So pretty simple requirements here. We don't care at all about the CPU that's built in your device, or the operating system, or the amount of RAM or disk space, or anything like that. All we need is the device that meets those requirements there. So literally for $29, you could go out and buy an Amazon Fire tablet. Amazon has these sales every now and then. Maybe they cost as much as $39 today. But you can get Amazon Fire tablets incredibly cheap, and that's going to run this system very happily, or a Chromebook or an iPad, whatever you might have laying around. This then is what the system looks like. In this particular case, they have a Microsoft Surface Pro tablet on the desk, but that could be an iPad or anything like that. And the key that I want to point out here is that this student blends in with all the rest of the peers. They don't look different. They just fit in. And that can be huge for some students, absolutely huge. That what they're using just allows them to blend in with everyone else. There is no big box sitting on their desk or having to lug around some equipment or anything like that. It's very straightforward. So again, the day in the life of a student, all they do is carry whatever device you give them and a wireless microphone into the room. They log into Streamer to view the captioning, or more likely, they'll create a desktop shortcut and just click on that, and it automatically loads them in. As they're listening to the captioning, they're going to add notes where desired, and then save the transcript if you give them permission to do that. Clear out the transcript and go to the next class. Pretty simple kind of stuff going on here. Actually, very simple. And again, we support multiple teachers, so if you have a team teaching situation or in a classroom you have different devices, no problem whatsoever. Streamer has the exact same interface, whether you're using a laptop, a Mac or an iPad or a Chromebook or an Amazon or something like that, again, the exact same interface, unlike something like Microsoft Translate, where you're always trying to learn something new when you switch different devices. And every time you do switch a device, you have to recreate an account because it doesn't allow you to save those accounts. With Streamer, that's all automatically taking care of it for you. So if you happen to be using a Chromebook on one day and then pull up on an iPad, all your account settings are automatically going to be there for you. Okay, so I guess I'll kind of skip over this one. We've kind of gone over that in detail. It's just a reminder of some of the features that I've already shown you. I'll let you read that real quick, and then we'll jump to the next slide while I get a glass of water. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. My voice is kind of going. It's that time of year around here where cold sort of settle in. All right, let's talk real quick about multilingual translation of conversations. Looking at most of you folks that signed up for this webinar, we're focused on captions. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. But if you are in a situation where a parent would prefer to speak Spanish or Russian or Vietnamese, or you have students where English is not their primary language, where they're trying to learn a given language, this software is going to be able to support that. I want to try and show you something here, do something a little bit different here. What I've done is pulled up a Spanish version. So let me close down the PowerPoint slides. I'm going to make the English captioning here the left side of my screen. And so you can continue to see the captioning as I'm talking here. And what I'm going to do is pull over a Spanish translation. So what you're seeing on the right is what a student would see if they were logged in using Spanish. So again, on the left side, you'll see the English, and that remains in English. And what you see on the right side is as I say something in English, it's temporarily in the native language, and then it gets quickly converted over to Spanish. Actually, it's not doing it right now. It was. There it goes. I got so many windows open right now. But again, what you're seeing is the instant translation of anything that I'm saying gets converted over to the desired language. So again, this window on the right is the one for the Spanish-speaking student, and the window on the left is the one that you would have as a teacher. Now, I could have this for Russian, for Vietnamese, for Thai, for German, for French, Korean, Japanese, whatever it might be. If in my classroom I have 8 different students that speak 8 different languages, they can all be viewing the captioning in their preferred language, and whatever they say is going to also be translated then to all those other respective languages. And in addition to that, they're going to have the ability to have continuous TTS. What that means is in addition to seeing the captioning in Spanish, they can also hear it spoken out loud. And so they'd be wearing an earbud or something like that. So again, complete removal of the language barrier, be it a IEP meeting with a parent, or just a conversation you're having with that parent, whatever it might be, now you're able to remove that language barrier using this software. So I hope that makes sense. Let me get back to some of these PowerPoint slides, because I did promise that we get into some additional details here. All right. So yeah, real quick. So in addition to captioning in classroom activities, these are some of the other requests that came back to us. The ability to caption all school assemblies. And so if you have 400 students in the gymnasium, and let's say 18 of those students would like to see the captioning of the presentation, no problem whatsoever. You're going to connect Streamer up to the PA system that you're using in that gymnasium, and it's going to automatically caption whatever is being presented. And those students are going to be able to view the captioning, again, in their preferred language. Every now and then, not that often, but every now and then we get a parent who is concerned about their child missing those morning announcements. If that's a concern in your school, Streamer is going to support that just as well. So we had the 18 students in the gymnasium listening to it. Well, now those 18 students could be in 18 separate classrooms in your campus, and they're going to be able to view the captioning the exact same way that they were doing it in that all-school assembly. They can be anywhere that they want as long as they have that internet connection, and they're going to be able to view that captioning. So again, these 18 students could view the morning announcements or an emergency announcement, whatever it might be. Likewise, you could combine this with various tools that you may have to support homebound students. So if you have a student who is homebound or in a hospital setting, whatever it might be, you have the ability to provide live captioning of what's happening in your classroom wherever they are. And of course, English as a second language type students. So lots going on here. Lots of different ways to use the software to support those students who are hard of hearing or potentially deaf. Microphone systems, probably won't spend too much time on this, but if you have an existing FM system, we're going to encourage you to try that first. Again, we're going to give you a way to try it for free just so that you can play with this without even having to order a trial. What you'll be doing is attaching a second wireless receiver to your existing system. And then that receiver connects to the student's device, such as a Chromebook or an iPad, whatever it might be. If you're going to do this, we want you to minimize the number of adapters. And so we have seen some setups where there might be like a cable that goes into an adapter that goes into another adapter, and you've got 3 parts. And the issue with that is the more parts you have, the better the chance something's going to get lost. So we'd really like you to keep it to a minimum. And we can give you links to buy those on Amazon. We can sell these various cables. They're very low cost. It just makes it easier for the student. So if there's one suggestion that we're going to kind of emphasize here when you're using your existing systems is to keep it simple. Make it as simple as you can. There are some YouTube videos that Mike Messina has put together, some excellent videos, and in particular one on using your existing FM system. It's, I think, probably 45 seconds long, so I mean it's very much to the point, and I'll show you exactly how to use that system. And if we have time, we'll come back and maybe play that for you. But again, we're certainly here to help you use your existing FM systems. If you do not have one, then we offer 2 systems for your consideration. So the first one is this Nano system, very small. The receiver is just a USB thumb drive. So if that student is really concerned about fitting in with their peers, they don't want to look different, then you're going to go with the Nano system. The dual system, a little bit bigger. The receiver is the size of a business card, so it still easily fits within a student's pocket. This is not some big luggable that you're carrying around from class to class. Still quite small. And with these systems, you have your choice of 3 different types of microphones. A headset that you could wear, a handheld, very useful if maybe you're having a student discussion kind of thing, you want to put a microphone in the center of a group of 4 students or something like that. And the most popular by now with educators is the lapel mic, the clip-on lapel. The Nano receiver, again, $499, you will have a single microphone input. So it's your choice of a headset, a handheld, or a lapel mic, and then that's going to connect to the student's device. So whether it's a computer or an iPad or a Chromebook, whatever it might be, that's how that Nano system is going to work. So it is a very nice wireless system, easy to use, smallest form factor, all the above. And so again, just some various entities here, and you can kind of get the idea of that USB thumb drive. It's quite small to plug in. With the dual microphone system, you can have 2 microphone inputs. So I call it the dual. And so you can have any combination of 2 microphones. And so perhaps it's a lapel mic and a handheld or whatever you might want it to be. You also have 2 audio outputs, and the one is going to connect to the computer for sure. And the other one you can use to connect to a hearing aid or a CI. Depending on that hearing aid, it may work well and it may not. So I don't want to overstate that capability of having that monitor port. For some situations, it's been absolutely beautiful, and for others, the audio just doesn't quite come out as well. So again, I don't want to overstate that capability, but it does exist. So again, some of the features here built into the dual system. And so again, those are 2 options that you could use if you don't have an existing wireless FM system. Also, as part of the dual, and again, it's the size of a business card, we do have a bracket that allows you to attach to the back of your smartphone. So I could use a wireless FM system where that receiver is physically attached to the back of my smartphone, and the teacher is wearing the wireless microphone, the transmitter, and I'd be able to view the captioning directly on my smartphone. Really nice for some situations, really nice. Talk about budget, get going there a little bit. So your system, what you're gonna have is the software, and this is a subscription that you're going to subscribe to. I guess that's a redundant use of the term there. But the cost is $66 a month for the first year, and then it drops to a little under $17 per month thereafter. So if you're thinking of this on an annual basis, which is what most schools do, you're talking $795 for the first full year, and then each year thereafter it drops to $199. That pricing is going to change. It's going to go up fairly soon, but anybody that starts a trial now is going to be able to maintain this pricing. So we're not going to increase pricing on you in the middle of a trial or something like that. And so I'm not trying to pressure you to buy now quick before the price goes up. Just start a trial and we'll certainly honor that existing pricing for you. Earlier I said you can create as many accounts as you want, and here I'm saying 100. The reality is, yes, you can create as many as you want. We do, by default, cap you to 100. But if you need more than that, just let us know. We put a default in there because, you know, somebody out there, some hacker is going to automatically use a robot to create 1 million accounts and try and slam our system. It happens. So that's why the default is there. If you need more than 100, which nobody's ever requested that, but if you do need that, we'll be happy to increase it for you. Again, the budget, if you have your own wireless FM system, you're going to use that. But if you do need to purchase one, then the cost is $499 to $599. And if you want extra microphones, you can purchase that. And the cost of your tablet from the Amazon Fire, you know, I put $49 here. Again, you can get them on sale cheaper than that quite frequently. So maybe as much as $900 for a laptop or something like that. But go with whatever you got, Chromebooks, iPad, something like that. Karen mentioned earlier, and I want to repeat this with emphasis, that we do want you to start out doing a trial. Anybody that claims that their accommodation is the best accommodation for every student everywhere in the world, well, they're just not being honest with you. And so we want to make sure this is a good fit for the student. The cost, we make this very affordable. $99 plus a return deposit if you include a microphone with your trial. And so for $99, we're going to give you the cables and adapters that you would use to work with your existing wireless FM system. You don't have to worry about that. You can run this trial on as many devices as you like. We encourage you to let the parents try it out on their own. Let the student, whoever it might be, coworkers, go ahead and let as many people use your trial as you want. By all means, we're certainly very supportive of that. In a moment here, we'll show you a link on the website where you'll be able to do that trial. I promised that I would give you a way to try it for free right away without signing up for a trial, and that's what we're doing here. So we're going to give you a copy of these slides, so you don't have to write this down real quick, but I'll just review it here. So again, you don't have to take notes because we're going to send every one of you an email with this information. But all you would do in order to give it a try, and you can do it right now as you're listening to me if you want, is open a Chrome browser on whatever device you have and go to that website, streamer.center, and you're going to log in using the account and password shown there. When you do that, you're going to jump into this demo room called Demo for Schools, and you're going to be able to click on the microphone and start captioning your speech. Now, I showed you earlier the ability to translate into another language, and so if you want to do that on a second device, pretend it's the student's computer, do the same thing, but this time log in with the account teacher-Spanish and the password shown there. And everything that you say on the first computer is going to be displayed and translated on the student's computer and vice versa. They can respond back. So again, this is a free demo room that a lot of people can use. So this is not a room that you want to caption a private conversation with. You know, it's not totally open to the public, but certainly other people could jump in there. With your paid trial, you are going to get a very much private and secure room that only you have access to, and only people that you allow or give permission to enter the room. Whereas this room, everybody watching this webinar could jump in at any given time. But play with it, you know, just be cognizant of the situation there. Okay, so let's see, we've got about 15 minutes here. There are a lot of video tutorials that Mike has put together. And by a lot, I'm talking about a dozen or so. Very useful tutorial videos. And I'm going to strongly encourage you to take a look at those when you start using the system. These are, I think the longest one, maybe 4 minutes, something like that. They tend to be quite short, very specific to a given situation. They're going to take you through first use of the system to some really nice suggestions, like creating a desktop shortcut. It's very simple to do that, and with that, the student no longer has to even remember the password to log in. Once they've logged in, they're going to use those credentials, create the shortcut, and it's right on their desktop. Double-click it, it automatically puts them directly in their room. So things like that are very useful. You know, being able to save the transcripts in a specific folder, very useful for a student. So by default, they're just going to be downloaded into the download folder. But you can set up Streamer. It takes, you know, less than 30 seconds to do this. And now the student will be asked each time. So they could save the math transcript into a folder called math and into a folder called English and these sorts of things. So very nice sort of features here. We're also going to give you the link for the Quick Start Guide, which is pretty short. There's not a whole lot of complexity to using this software. It's pretty straightforward and pretty easy. Here's the contact information. What I am going to do is pull over the website here, because I promised you that we would show you how to sign up for a trial. And let me shrink this down just a little bit so that we can still see the captioning underneath, which we've kind of lost. I'll bring that back. Let's see, I'm going to have to separate these windows, but I can do that. All right. So Karen, do you want to take us through signing up for a trial and how to use the website to do that?
Absolutely, Rob. Let's see if I have control here. It looks like I do. So this is the Supporting Success for Children with Hearing Loss website. And you would find all of our information about Interact under Products. If you scroll down a little bit, there it is. You can see all of the pages we have. I'm not going to go into this, but just the opening page or the base home page for this section is right here. It will have all of the links to the videos that Mike Massini has put together that Rob mentioned. There's some information about candidacy for students. Absolutely, captioning is not for every student. There needs to be a certain amount of language development and reading fluency, and there's just some information here if you're considering a student and are wondering if they really are a candidate or not. If they're a borderline candidate, the best thing to do is to give it a try, certainly. But and then there's some information about the trial period, the 1-month trial period, especially if you're going to rent the microphones that we have for that trial period. There's a page about that. And everything in the school is data-driven. We know that. And so it's very useful if the teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, primarily perhaps a speech-language pathologist, would get together with the student before captioning is tried to be able to try and assess their listening comprehension. And then with the captioning, when the captioning trial is going on, after they've adjusted to it for a while, do a very similar kind of an assessment with the captioning in place so that you have a rough estimate of how much benefit that child is receiving from the captioning, if any. If there's issues, what do they look like? So here's some ideas for benefit. We're going to spend the rest of the time on the Purchasing Interact page. And there we go. And what you'll see is that it's a very straightforward page. We certainly will take purchase orders, even for a trial period, even for a rental of the microphones, or you can do the add to cart and just purchase it on the website. We want to start with the trial period, absolutely, either with a dual microphone system or the Nano microphone system, which is again the very small USB drive kind of sized receiver. Or if you do have an FM system, you would just do the $99 trial. But there are absolutely key considerations for this. And Rob had mentioned that you need to have the right connector cables. We need to have quality transcription going on, and sometimes the cabling could interfere with that. So we certainly include the shipment, include in the shipment the correct cables, but sometimes people just have them and want to use their own. So here's some just considerations that you can review. You can fax in your purchase order, can mail it in, email it, whatever. Uh, and then, as Rob mentioned, the annual subscription at this point is $795. And we have a deal if you really try it and are interested in expanding your use of streamer subscription. We have some discounts on groups, or numerous ones, quantity. And then if you've tried it for a year and you know that you want to have it an additional year, it would be $199 thereafter for that subscription. We have the whole list of the microphones and such that you can purchase singly if you would like to. So please look at the information on the website. There's quite a lot there. Certainly go and take advantage of those videos that are available. And if you want to switch back to the slides, I think that we should get back to the contact information so people can see that one more time, Rob.
Yeah, let me jump in here real quick.
Sure.
Couple questions, and then we'll get back to the contact info. And so I'll make this a little bit bigger. Let's see. First off, some people wanted to see an actual download of transcript. And so what I'm going to do here is go to the download version. And when I do that, it allows me to select the various form that I want. I can save this in Word, which I don't have open on my computer, but let's go ahead and try this anyways. And so what it did is it just downloaded this, and I'm going to show you where that is in my crowded folders here. And it's the most recent one that just got entered. And when I click on that, it's going to launch. And in a moment here, once it does launch, you'd be able to see the entire transcript here. And so you can see kind of the stuff that's going on here. We try and make this a little bit bigger for you. But this is, oops, I'm accidentally covering up the captioning. There we go. So hopefully you can still see the captioning underneath here. But what you're looking at is the entire transcript of everything that's said, and you can see the automated punctuation, periods and capitals, things like that, the commas, question marks, as in this one. So yes, everything does get automatically punctuated. And what we're going to have in the very near future is at the very top, what you'll see is a summary of everything that's contained in that transcript. So that's coming out in the March time frame. And so you will be able to see that.
So Rob, would that be like if a student had been listening to the teacher for 50 minutes and the summary was posted, would it be like 25% of the content or 10% of the content? Do you have an idea?
Oh, it'll be much less than that. Yeah, so we're going to try and shrink the entire contents down into a single paragraph. You will have the ability to tweak that if you want. But yes, we believe that we can successfully do that, where we'll give a very concise summary of what was said, who said it, and when it was said. And
so this would be really useful for if the student had a whole week's worth of lectures in his English folder, to just hit and look at the summaries and go, which one were they talking about, Shakespeare, Hamlet, and go, oh, it's
yeah, exactly. And so they'll remember that there was a lecture on this, and I've got to go back and study that little piece of information. But which day was it? And so now it's very easy to find that. So again, that was the question we had. The other one, actually there were several. I'm going to pull up this one. Again, this is the Spanish version just because I think it's a little easier. But the question was, if you are going to use this for an entire school versus individual subscription. So again, you can see my captioning on the bottom there. What you will have if you start equipping your entire school is when the student goes to the lobby, which you see here, make it a little bit bigger. Right now, you only see 2 rooms in this particular account. Success for Kids and then the demo account. And what the student will see then is however many rooms, how many subscriptions you have for your school. So if you have, if you wanted to equip the entire school, if you had 50 classrooms in your school, you could literally have room 101, room 102, 103. And when the student goes into that particular room, they're just going to click on that name of the room, and they'll be able to view the captioning that's in there. All right, let's go back to those contacts, Karen, and why don't you close this out? And for those of you that do have additional questions, I will make sure and stick around and get those answered for you.
Okay. So again, thanks for being with us and learning about Interact AS. I wanted to mention again Mike Massini. And Mike Massini is the person who is the support guy for supporting success that really has the most experience working with the schools, answering questions about use of different FMs and troubleshooting when things don't work. He's worked directly with the FMDM companies. And so, Mike, if you are interested in getting more specific information or having specific questions answered, I would strongly suggest you email Mike Massini, and his email is the Interact AS support at successforkidswithhearingloss.com. Mike is also the one, he's going to be sending out an email, a follow-up email, probably by tomorrow afternoon, that, as Rob said, is going to contain the links and information about how to get to the demo room and such. So you're going to be able to follow up on information from this webinar. And also, as my personal thank you, if you are interested in receiving a CEU participation form or certificate of participation, I would be happy to provide you with one. All I ask is that you send me an email. There's my email address, Karen@successforkidswithhearingloss.com. Drop me an email, and in the subject line, all you need to write is CEU certificate or something like that. I don't expect you to have to write a long message. I get it. And I really do appreciate everyone who is on the webinar with us. And the certificates are for you guys only, not for those of you who are going to listen afterwards to the recording. So as long as I receive your email requesting a certificate by the end of tomorrow, which is Wednesday, I will be sending those out in the next couple of days. So this offer is only open for a couple of days, a day and a half. So I hope to receive a lot of requests from you. We hope that you will give the demo room a try. And like Rob said, play around with it. Often it's a very busy place shortly after our webinars, but certainly go back and give it a try in a few days. Show the parent, show the student, spread the word. So we're excited about all the changes with Interact Streamer. I know every month we do this webinar and I learn something new about what Rob is developing to make Streamer even better. So thanks again for tuning in, and we hope to hear from you. And enjoy the demo room. Give it a try. So bye for now from Supporting Success and from Auditory Sciences. We really do appreciate you being with us.